Acrocanthosaurus, the high-spined lizard. An apex predator, and a good one at that. They have a great sense of smell, so if you ever find yourself trapped in the Acrocanthosaur enclosure, and I certainly hope you never do, I don't recommend playing hide and seek. They'll sniff you out before you can clean your trousers. Dun 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 dun! Watch out! Here comes the shark lizard, Carcharodontosaurus. Despite the name, this is a terrestrial animal, not an aquatic one. You can think of it as a land shark, well suited to catching large prey with an incredibly muscular body and wickedly serrated teeth. Coelophysis is without a doubt the most iconic dinosaur of the Triassic period. It's almost certain that it's also the trickiest dinosaur name to say. If you ever have some time on your hands, I recommend listening to the visitors try to sound out its name. Coelophysis never fails to make me smile. Now this is an interesting fellow. This dinosaur is called Dinoceras, a name meaning horrible hand. Its hands aren't actually horrible, mind you. Calling dinosaurs things like terrible or horrible is a trend that goes all the way back to Sir Richard Owen, who first coined the term dinosaur, which of course means terrible lizard. Dilophosaurus is such a gorgeous creature. Those graceful notched jaws can pack a powerful bite, but watch out for those arms. Their length and mobility make it all too easy for Dilophosaurus to bring prey straight to its mouth. So if the teeth don't catch up, its arms just might. While Tyrannosaurus is widely considered the largest predatory dinosaur in terms of sheer bulk, it's not the longest of them. In that competition, it's Spinosaurus who reigns supreme. Of course, with its stubby legs and stout proportions, Spinosaurus is not suited to rule terrestrial ecosystems as T-Rex does. Instead, it presides over the aquatic realm. Its dense bones and paddle-like tail provide stability in the water, while its long arms and crocodile-like jaws are perfect for snagging and hauling gigantic fish to shore. The apex predator of the Nemegt Formation, Tarbosaurus batar. Fossils of this massive predator dominate dig sites in the Nemegt, and no one is really sure why. It doesn't make sense that there'd be more Tarbosaurus prowling around than herbivores to feast on. Regardless, the wealth of fossil material we found of this dinosaur have made it possible to add it to our park. Ah yes, the Torvosaurus, an apex predator of the Jurassic. As it turns out, there were many apex predators in the Jurassic living alongside Torvosaurus. With so many large carnivores in one area competing for the same food, different species must have specialized in different prey. There it is, the one and only king of the tyrant lizards. Tyrannosaurus is as big as the movies, and yet somehow even scarier. T-Rex has the most powerful bite force of any land animal on the planet. And if those massive jaws weren't threatening enough, you know it could swallow you and me both in one go. This is a creature of pure instinct, so let's hope it doesn't try to take back its kingdom anytime soon. Blink and you'll miss it. Here comes the speedy thief, Velociraptor. It's easy to call Velociraptor a cold-blooded killer, but they aren't cold-blooded. As an active predator covered in feathers, Velociraptor is able to regulate its own body temperature, the hallmark ability of warm-blooded animals. The name Apatosaurus means deceptive lizard, And I can't think of a more fitting moniker for a dinosaur with such a complicated history. When the man who discovered Apatosaurus in 1877 shipped fossils to both Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope, he inadvertently caused a chain reaction, leading to one of the craziest, most heated eras in fossil collecting history, the Bone Wars. Now, I've seen skeletons of Argentinosaurus before, but nothing can prepare you for the sheer immensity of this dinosaur in the flesh. These titanic sauropods, fittingly called titanosaurs, grow rapidly. Once they reach a certain size, they're virtually untouchable and have nothing to fear from puny apex predators. Hungry guests, though. Let's hope we don't find out. You can't get a much more classic dinosaur than Brachiosaurus. Look at the size of this magnificent animal. The way it moves about, with the grace fit for a giant. It's a real privilege to be able to cherish these beautiful creatures. That sound you're hearing isn't thunder. It's the earth-shaking stomp of a brontosaurus. These dinosaurs have been shaking the big screen for over 100 years, starting with one of the first ever animated films, Gertie the Dinosaur. Gertie was never the best behaved dinosaur, so hopefully we won't have as much trouble trying to keep this brontosaurus in line. There it is, Carmarosaurus, the star of the Morrison Formation. One of the reasons this animal is so common in the fossil record is the sturdiness of its blunt skull. Looking at it more closely, I can sort of see how that could be the case. Wouldn't you agree? Plateosaurus represents an incredibly ancient group of dinosaurs that predates the huge sauropods we all know and love. The earliest relatives of the sauropods are often called the prosauropods, but Prosauropoda isn't an accepted taxonomic group nowadays. Instead, Plateosaurus and its relatives are called basal sauropodomorphs. Still, I've found that most paleontologists know what you mean, regardless. Ankylosaurs are built like tanks, and none of them more so than the mighty Ankylosaurus. It is massive, over 6 meters long, and has a series of bony osteoderm armour embedded in its skin like chainmail. It's always a pleasure to run into a fellow Brit so far away from home. Meet Solidosaurus, an early armoured dinosaur from England and Ireland. The relationship between Solidosaurus and the other armoured dinosaurs, stegosaurs and ankylosaurs, is the subject of hot debate in the scientific community. It's been well over a century since that discussion started, and we're still not completely sure where this fella fits in. Despite being named after the ferryman of the underworld from Greek mythology, Tyrannosaurus is not known for delivering souls to the afterlife. I've seen the look in the eyes of a hungry Tyrannosaurus before, and it's almost like they're contemplating a new career path. No, sir, you aren't taking me across the river Styx today. Go and eat your ferns. A Dryosaurus. Only juvenile specimens of these dinosaurs have been found in the fossil record, so I'm eager to see how much larger this one will get. Found all over western North America, Edmontosaurus is the textbook definition of a hadrosaur. They're one of the most well-studied animals in the fossil record, providing us with a wealth of insight into how they ate, socialized and survived. Iguanodon, one of the first dinosaurs to be formally named. Iguanodon is also one of the first dinosaurs to be sculpted. The original sculptures can still be seen in Crystal Palace Park in London. The artist behind the sculptures, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, famously hosted an 8-course dinner inside one of the incomplete sculptures on New Year's Eve, 1853. How's that for a party? Lambeosaurus, a crested hadrosaur from the late Cretaceous. Hadrosaurs are commonly called duck-billed dinosaurs, after the toothless beak at the front of their mouths. But they aren't completely toothless. Behind the beak are dense concentrations of teeth that are continually replaced, sort of like a shark. If sharks were cows, that is. This little cutie is Laelenosaura. I often hear parents begging us to open a petting zoo, if only because their children won't stop asking to pet the Laelenosaura. Personally, I've found these dinosaurs to be rather skittish, so I don't think they take well to flocks of children grabbing at their tails. Muttaburrasaurus is the official fossil emblem of Queensland, Australia. It's in good company next to modern emblems like koalas. Despite its name, I don't think Muttaburrasaurus would feel at home amongst the pastures of Muttaburra, Australia. Its teeth are much better suited for shearing through tougher plants than modern grasses. Just look at that! This sailback dinosaur is Ororanosaurus, an ornithopod related to both the thumb-spiked iguanodonts and the duck-billed hadrosaurs. I wouldn't get too close though. Just like its iguanodontian cousins, the thumbs of Oranosaurus sport a sharp conical claw. When they're feeling feisty, they come out swinging like a boxer. Now that, my friend, is a beautiful dinosaur. Almost like a musical instrument, Parasaurolophus used their crest for long-distance communication. The crests are made out of bone riddled with hollow tubes, which help amplify that beautiful singing voice of theirs. You're listening to the first orchestra on Earth. Wow, look at the horns on that one. This must be Nasuta ceratops, a Ceratopsian best identified by its large cow-like features. Much like a rhino or, well, a cow, its horns are sheathed in keratin, the same material that makes up scales, feathers, fingernails and even hair. Pachyrhinosaurus. There are 3 species contained within the genus Pachyrhinosaurus, each with their own unique facial characteristics. While we don't know the primary purpose of these features, we can assume that the differences help an individual recognise members of its own species and help males impress the ladies. Protoceratops. This animal is one of the smaller species of ceratopsians, living alongside deadly neighbours like the Velociraptor. Thankfully, this little critter is surprisingly speedy. Compared to its larger cousins, the foot structure and limb proportions of Protoceratops are much better adapted to running. I guess that's important if you're trying to avoid speedy thieves like Velociraptor. Now this little fella is a Psittacosaurus. Thanks to a number of recent findings, we were able to restore this creature to a high degree of genetic accuracy, right down to the quills and coloration in some of its species. With a head like that, we must be looking at Styracosaurus. The purpose of these gorgeous frills has long vexed paleontologists. Were they primarily for display, temperature regulation, or neck protection? Now that we have one in the flesh, hopefully we can solve this mystery once and for all. Triceratops, one of the most recognizable and largest dinosaurs of its kind. Several fossilized Triceratops have been given nicknames like Lane, Hatcher, or Homer. Personally, I prefer names starting with T. This is an Archaeopteryx. Its fossil was one of the most important scientific discoveries ever made. In addition to its obvious bird-like traits, it also sported many traditional dinosaur features, such as sharp teeth, a bony tail, and a killing claw, similar to its distant relative, the Velociraptor. At last, the woolly mammoth, ruler of the Ice Age, then ruler of none. There's nothing quite like it on the planet today. Just like their closest elephant cousins, mammoths are highly social, forming large family groups led by matriarchs. So that means we need to make sure we give them enough company. I would hate to see them feel lonely. Although we often associate lions with Africa, the range of prehistoric cave lions spanned across multiple continents in the northern hemisphere. The American species of cave lion prefers the same types of habitat as its modern cousin, spacious savannas and grasslands. I wonder if they'd enjoy the same enrichment program as African lions do too. Oh boy! That's a big kitty, more commonly known as the saber-toothed tiger. Smilodon makes for a formidable predator. Many of its fossils have been excavated in tar pits, with the most prolific site being La Brea in Los Angeles, California. More than a staggering 166,000 specimens of Smilodon have been found in these sediments alone. What may have been terrible death traps in the past make for great opportunities in the present as we bring this carnivore back to life. The woolly rhino, or Coelodonta, is a relative to the modern-day Sumatran rhino. Not unlike modern species, This rhinoceros sports two horns on its face. A key difference to note, however, is its unusual flattened shape. That's truly unique among its peers. Modern lions, American cave lions and Eurasian cave lions are just three of the many species of big cat belonging to the genus Panthera. In its heyday, the Eurasian species of cave lion could hunt large game, like reindeer, across Europe, Asia and even North America, thanks to the Bering Land Bridge. This giant beast is Elasmotherium, sometimes called the Siberian unicorn. The unicorn comparison goes farther than just the horn. Compared to other rhinoceroses, their legs are longer and more suited to running. I've yet to see one do magic, though. Although it's much smaller than its cousin Paraceratherium, Juxiar takes up just as much space in my heart. Its smaller size was likely an asset when trying to move around the dense jungle habitats it once called home. Though I use small relatively, because Juxiar is still a massive animal by today's standards. What you're looking at is a missing link. Well, kind of. While evolution doesn't work like a linear chain, transitional species, like Cynotherium here, help us understand changes that occur between related species with different characteristics. The position of Cynotherium's horn marks a transitional stage in the evolution from its nose-horned ancestors to Elasmotherium, its forehead-horned descendant.